He laughed, not because he had it easy, but because he never expected it to be. You see, people crave comfort. They want peace without war, victory without battle, growth without pain. But that's not how the world works. And Luffy, he knew it. He was born into a world where the strong ruled the seas, where dreams were crushed by power and hope was drowned beneath the waves. But even in that chaos, he smiled, not out of ignorance, but defiance. Because while the world asked for surrender, Luffy chose resistance. He didn't chase an easy life. He chased meaning, purpose, a dream so big it mocked reality. And that dream, it demanded pain. It demanded loss. It demanded scars. Most men fear pain. They run from it, avoid it, beg the universe for mercy. But Luffy, he opened his arms to it. Because every drop of blood, every broken bone, was a sign that he was still in the fight. You think strength comes from comfort? Luffy would laugh in your face. Because comfort breeds weakness. And he didn't want comfort. He wanted to be king, the pirate king. That title wasn't about sitting on a throne. It was about standing alone. Standing when everyone else fell, laughing through the storm, bleeding through the silence, and rising again and again and again. Because Luffy didn't care how hard the journey was. He only cared that it was his. Friends died, enemies rose, mountains crumbled, and the sea never stopped testing him, but neither did he stop fighting. He didn't want an easy life. He wanted a life that meant something, and meaning only comes from suffering. He didn't fear death. He feared regret. He feared looking back and realizing he bent to a world that tried to break him. So he kept walking, through betrayal, through chaos, through pain. And every time the world asked him to quit, he laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic to even ask. Luffy understood something most never will. The world isn't fair. It's cruel. It's violent. It doesn't owe you peace. And if you want something, you take it. With blood, with fire, with will. He didn't cry when he was beaten. He didn't run when he was hunted. He didn't beg when he was alone. He simply got stronger. Not because he wanted to win, but because he refused to lose. Easy life? He laughed. Because that would have been a waste. A waste of strength, a waste of time, a waste of soul. Luffy chose the hard road, not because he had to, but because it was the only road worth walking. He was forged in fire, sharpened by pain, and carved into legend by every storm that tried to drown him. So when the world throws hell at your feet, when life whispers, give up, remember him. Remember the boy who laughed at the idea of ease, who embraced the storm, who bled for his dream, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. You see, the truth that no one tells you is that the pain doesn't stop when you become strong. It just changes form. The enemies get bigger, the stakes get higher, the betrayals cut deeper. But Luffy, he never flinched, because somewhere deep in his soul, he made a pact with suffering. A pact that said, you give me hell, I'll give you glory. He was never afraid to fall, because he knew falling wasn't failure. Staying down was. Every scar on his body, a memory, every battle lost, a lesson, every friend who bled beside him, a reason to fight harder. And that's what makes him different. Not the devil fruit, not the rubber body, not the strength, but the heart. The kind of heart that can't be broken, only rebuilt stronger. Because when you've been to the bottom, when you face death with a smile, what's left to fear? Nothing. And that's the secret. The world breaks most men. It crushes dreams, turns ambition into regret. But not Luffy. He didn't just survive the darkness. he danced with it. So if you're waiting for life to be easy, waiting for the right time, waiting for permission, Luffy would look you in the eye and laugh, because life doesn't give you peace, it gives you war, and you either fight or you fade. He chose to fight, not because he knew he'd win, but because he knew giving up meant becoming like the rest. Ordinary, silent, forgotten. He wanted something more, and that kind of desire, that kind of madness, it destroys weak men, but builds monsters of legend. So don't chase an easy life. Chase a life that sets your soul on fire. Chase a life that tests your limits, that breaks you, and then forces you to rebuild yourself into something unbreakable. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how safe you played it. It's about how hard you dared to dream and how much pain you were willing to endure to reach it. Because ease never made emperors, comfort never carved kings, and peace never birthed legends. He wasn't chasing a throne built on pillows. He was building one out of bones, storms, and scars. While the world begged for mercy, he asked for more war, because he didn't want the world to hand him his place. He wanted to rip it out of fate's hands and etch his name into eternity. So remember this: when your soul is tired, when life breaks your back, and all you want to do is quit, laugh. Laugh like Luffy, because pain is not your prison. It's your proving ground. You were not made for an easy life. You were made for a legendary one. And legends, they never fall. They rise, over and over, until the world has no choice but to remember their name. So go ahead, bleed, burn, break. But whatever you do, never beg for easy. Conquer the impossible, like he did, like a king without a crown, but a will sharp enough to shatter heaven itself. This is the legacy of Monkey D. Luffy, and it's just getting started.